No rest for the wicked. Okay, let's kick things off with an absolute gem from the creators of Ori. It's called No Rest for the Wicked. The developers claim they've been crafting this for a full 6 years to deliver a totally fresh RPG experience. And let me tell you, it absolutely shows. This game feels unlike anything I've played before. First off, there's this incredibly unique visual style, deliberately grim, dark, and exaggerated. Secondly, the combat, oh boy, it makes you feel every hit, very much like those famously tough games we all know. Though, unlike those, here you can actually choose your difficulty level, and switch it anytime you want. You create your character, guy or gal, and basically wash ashore on this bleak island after a nasty shipwreck, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. The island's a mess, plague, monsters, bandits, all bearing down on a small town. That town eventually becomes your sanctuary, where you can buy a house and help rebuild the place by gathering wood and ore for the local builder. What really sets this apart from other isometric games I've played is the verticality. While most stick everything on one flat plane, here you can climb onto practically anything within reach. This means you're constantly discovering cool new paths and secrets, which feels great because the devs have hidden a ton of chests everywhere. Bottom line. It's a masterpiece. Felt a bit sparse at launch, but it's really polished now. Silent Hill 2. Honestly, it's hard to find someone who hasn't heard of Silent Hill. Pretty much everyone has. But judging by the peak player counts on Steam and the reviews, very few have actually played the recent remake of Silent Hill 2. And that's a real shame. Because this remake turned out incredibly well. Like the original, you play as James Sunderland, a widower who gets a letter from his deceased wife, Mary, beckoning him back to Silent Hill. Knowing dead people don't usually send mail, James rushes to the town where they shared happier times, only to confront his personal demons, manifestations of his deepest regrets, and other lost souls just like him. The story of Silent Hill 2 remains the absolute pinnacle of horror storytelling in games. The remake team treated it with incredible reverence, recreating the entire game faithfully, right down to specific lines and the multiple endings, while adding just a few careful touches of their own. It's a fantastic piece of work. Blasphemous 2. Alright, this one. Pure suffering, Souls-like style, but wrapped in a Metroidvania package. Yeah, you know I love those tough-as-nails games, so I compare everything to them. Blasphemous totally deserves the comparison because not only do the characters suffer, you will too thanks to some seriously challenging combat. This sequel raises the bar in literally every way, bigger levels, better world exploration, more detailed art, and way more varied gameplay. For the uninitiated, you play as the penitent one. You wake up in a strange land and journey through terrifying yet captivating Gothic landscapes packed with deadly traps. Which way to go? That's up to you, making exploration really rewarding. You've got skills to unlock, stats to upgrade, and hordes of monsters you'll be fighting non-stop. It's a constant back and forth, you beat them down, then they beat you down, and repeat. Basically, the whole game is one big exercise in, let's call it determined perseverance. Metaphor, ReFantazio. Now, this is a beautiful game, perfect for fans of the Persona series. Honestly, it feels like Persona turned up to 11. It's called Metaphor, ReFantazio. Instead of modern-day Tokyo, the typical Persona setting, Metaphor unfolds in a cozy fantasy kingdom called Uchronia. But don't let its charm and warmth fool you, this world hides some deep, serious problems. You've got dogma from the local church, cruelty from the rulers, discrimination, corruption, and decay. Oh, and to top it off, someone just stabbed the king, and he's died rather suddenly. Our main character, an unknown commoner, arrives in the capital just before the king's funeral. In our hands is a fantastical book about a utopian kingdom that looks suspiciously like our real world. On our belt is a sword that once belonged to the king himself. And in our heart, the hope to save our best friend, the orphan prince, son of the recently deceased monarch, who's actually alive but afflicted by a deadly curse everyone thinks killed him. So, we grab our gear and head out into a world split between daytime activities, chatting with tons of NPCs, and nighttime dungeon runs for some serious combat. If you don't have an allergy to anime aesthetics and Japanese role-playing games, this is a must-have in my book. Tempest Rising. If you miss those classic, old-school real-time strategy games in the purest sense, then Tempest Rising is for you. Back in the mid-90s and early 2000s, people might have called this just another Command and Conquer clone. But today, it's an oasis in what's become a near-dead desert for classic RTS. I really want to praise this game. Sure, there are things to criticize, but the bottom line is, it's genuinely fun to play. Let me try to explain the setup. You've got two factions, the Global Defense Forces, GDF, and the Dynasty. The GDF feels like a mix of the allies from Red Alert and GDI from the classic Command and Conquer. The Dynasty? Think Soviet Union meets the Brotherhood of Nod. These factions emerged after the Cuban Missile Crisis went sideways, missiles actually flew, and Europe got hit hardest. Out of all that radioactive chaos, these strange flowers popped up, this game's version of Tiberium, called Tempest. Turns out, the sap from these plants packs an insane amount of energy. And boom, the race is on. The Dynasty's aggressively harvesting Tempest, the GDF's trying to stop them, and you, picking a side, blast through one campaign and then blast through the other. It's classic base building, resource gathering, unit rushing action done really well. Ready or not? An excellent game that delivers one of the best tactical SWAT experiences out there, breaching suspect houses, and sometimes, not so suspect houses. I've played it twice. Once at launch, when it first came out, and again earlier this year. And I'll be straight with you, it felt like two completely different games. Before, you got rough maps, dumb AI teammates, and broken multiplayer that either crashed mid-match or just wouldn't connect to servers. Oh, and the worst part? Every other door seemed to have a booby trap that would blow me sky high because I rushed in. Now, it's a polished, even revamped game packed with content, tons of weapons, decent optimization, and stable servers. Yeah, the AI teammates can still be a bit thick, but they're way better, and there are far fewer traps, or maybe I just stopped charging into rooms like a maniac. This game punishes recklessness. Overall, it's basically the spiritual successor to the old SWAT games. It's incredibly satisfying, detailed, visually impressive, and challenging at times, with some truly amazing maps. The streamer room in one mission. Absolutely unforgettable. Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. Relatively new, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage is from the creators of Life is Strange, but it's a different kind of story. Yes, you're getting another interactive narrative with multiple characters, but you gotta push through the slow start. The main character might rub you the wrong way initially. But after about an hour, when all four main characters come together, the mood shifts to this hopeful, positive vibe that makes you believe the story might actually be pretty good. And trust me, it really is a good story. The plot is absolutely central to Lost Records, so it's hard to talk about much without spoilers. The game is set in the picturesque town of Velvet Cove, Michigan. In the summer of 1995, a high school girl unexpectedly makes three new friends, Autumn, Nora, and Kat. Their personalities mesh perfectly, like they were sorted into different Hogwarts houses. The friends form a band and name it Bloom and Rage, which, of course, became the game's title. We experience two timelines, when the girls were teenagers and when they're grown women who've drifted apart. So, what exactly happened that fateful summer in '95? What caused the big falling out? That's what we're here to uncover. Everspace 2. If wandering around as a schoolgirl is the last thing you want to do, how about sitting your butt down in a starfighter cockpit and blasting through the cosmos, making some serious pew-pew sounds? That's exactly what Everspace 2 delivers. The story's pretty straightforward. Our hero needs to bust out of a prison located in the galactic boonies. He escapes captivity with a random stranger who quickly becomes his loyal wingman. And then it's off to the races. Endless sorties, missions, shooting in every direction, surprisingly nice visuals, and, unexpectedly, really good pacing. It's rare to find a space game that feels this dynamic. Usually, it's slow burn stuff for the patient crowd, but not here. What's really nice? Right now, during the summer sale, you can grab this game with a whopping 70% discount. In my book, that's just perfect. Once Human. Honestly, it couldn't be much better. The game is totally free. Usually, 99% of free games are either grind fests or just plain garbage. But sometimes you find a real gem, like Once Human. Yeah, okay, it is a bit grindy, but not in a super punishing way. It's actually pretty fun. That's why it still pulls in a solid 25 to 30,000 players daily on Steam alone. And it's on mobile too. So, what's it about? You create your character, get through the tutorial, and land in this huge PvE world. You build your base like any survival game, gather resources, then head out to kick butt in a million different activities, from basic quests to boss fights. Some bosses even roam the map. Tired of PvE? Then test your luck in the PvP zones, where you'll get wrecked, looted clean, and probably teabagged. Or maybe looted first, then teabagged. Who wants soggy gear anyway? Point is, it's full loot player versus player. Extremely interesting game. Soma. This is Soma. An incredible experience where you become the main course. Or rather, the game masterfully sets the table for you every time you stumble across something deeply unsettling while wandering an abandoned ocean floor station. Yeah, it's a slow burn horror game. From the creators of Amnesia. The whole thing feels cinematic. Starting out, you expect the usual tricks, darkness, a flashlight, some monster jumping out. Gotta scare you somehow, right? But what you actually get is this profound meditation on consciousness. A deeply unsettling atmosphere and moral choices nobody explains to you. It makes you want to stop and think, to really dig into the story. The game demands your full attention, and you find yourself willingly giving it. Gameplay isn't about shooting, trigger-happy friends, holding down that left mouse button won't help here. It's about exploration and narrative. Sure, you can die if you're careless, but the goal isn't just survival, it's understanding. The environment, the sound design, the story, all masterful. Together, they make you feel genuinely trapped on a dead undersea station where something inhuman still breathes. A game for connoisseurs. Abiotic Factor. When we first jumped into Abiotic Factor, it was way early in development. Even back then, over a year ago, it was ridiculously fun. Now, after the devs polished this masterpiece, even better. Basically, we play survivors here, but not your average kind. We're philosophical thinkers, total badasses, professors, scientists, and basically gangsters with receding hairlines. We arrive at an underground facility just as a Half-Life 1 style disaster hits, sealing the exits. So, armed with 1.5 meters of bravery and 1.5 centimeters of muscle, we flex our brainpower. We rig up makeshift gear from office supplies like staplers and pens to fight off soldiers with assault rifles, mutants, aliens, and all sorts of other science gone wrong horrors. Our mission? Escape and figure out what the heck happened. Building a base under the stairs, exploring other dimensions, dodging invisible teleporting enemies, it's all included. The most unique survival game I've ever played. Seriously packed with content. BPM, bullets per minute. Time to let loose and just shoot stuff without overthinking it. The main thing. Watch the bars near your crosshair and fire to the beat, because yeah, it's a rhythm shooter. Similar idea to Metal Hellsinger, which is also great, way prettier, and more popular. But this time, it's BPM. There's no story, no lore. You play as one of 5 Valkyries, each with their own starting gun, findable for others, and unique skills that unlock over time. The difficulty system is actually really interesting. I'd call it the skill reward system. Here's how it works: wreck everything that moves to the beat, grab some upgrades and loot. The cooler part? The better your rhythm timing, the faster you clear rooms. And the less damage you take, the more loot drops. Basically, the better you play, the easier it gets. And trust me, this game does not go easy on you. Not one bit. Ken Follett's The Pillars of the Earth. Okay folks, I just couldn't resist adding Ken Follett here, because you can grab this one for a whopping 90% off. Seriously, you should do it. This is an adventure game, kind of like a visual novel, based on Ken Follett's classic historical novel, The Pillars of the Earth. The story unfolds between the years 1123 and 1173, centered around building a huge cathedral in the fictional town of Kingsbridge. It's a time when tensions are high between the nobility, the clergy, and the common folk. You follow a monk named Philip as he faces all the challenges life throws at him in medieval England. The game is split into 3 big parts, each with around 10 chapters. At the end of each chapter, you get a little summary of what you've achieved based on the choices you made. Visually, it's really beautiful, and story-wise, it's at least a very solid game. Terminator Resistance. So, why not revisit the Terminator? I'm talking about Terminator Resistance from 2019. Here, you play as a new character, Private Jacob Rivers, a soldier in the Resistance. He ends up being the sole survivor of his entire unit. As the story progresses, your character gets involved in the key events that lead to Skynet's downfall and the sending back of both Kyle Reese and the T-800. Yep, the game acts as a prequel to the first 2 movies and completely ignores everything that came after. Even though it's kind of average in some ways, it might just be the most interesting adventure in the Terminator universe. The plot directly sets up the events of those films. The game nails that dark, desperate atmosphere of the machine uprising. The sound is great too, with music echoing familiar themes from the original. It's definitely not a blockbuster, but it plays pretty well. Visually, it's obviously outdated now, but overall, it's a pretty good game. Wartales. And finally, Wartales. I'm actually installing this one right now while writing this script. A new downloadable content pack dropping for an already massive game is always a good reason to jump back in and see what's new. Honestly, this specific pirate downloadable content is a total mess, but all the others are excellent. In case anyone forgot, in Wartales you gather a small crew of mercenaries and then roam around wiping out every random group of bandits you find. You do this to level up your characters and become the toughest wandering company in the kingdom. For those who remember the game only from its early days, things have changed. You don't just fight outdoors anymore, now you brawl in taverns, sail on ships, and even take part in full-on siege battles. Also, don't forget you can upgrade your whole gang's camp. Think Baldur's Gate style, where you gotta feed your crew. And there's tons more to it. I bet you folks could add some other cool stuff here, so drop your suggestions down in the comments below the video. It always helps me out and helps other viewers checking out the comments too. Just saying.